Awesome. Well, we can go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone, and thank you, Kylie from the Punahou School, for joining us. We have a good session ahead of us. Punahou has been a client for a few years now, and they have quite an interesting, unique, and diverse use case. So let's get into it. My name's Anna. I work with Engage by Cell. I am the marketing and project manager. So I have a little bit of involvement on the client side with special projects and builds and things like that. And I'll pass it on to Casey.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining today. I'm the customer success manager for Engage by Cell and have worked with Kylie over the last few years, and her use case was so interesting to us that I thought that she could join us today and share how they've used our platform.
Aloha everyone, I'm Kylie Pomaikaimar here in Honolulu, Hawaii. For those in my time zone, good morning or good afternoon. For those that are ending their day, we're so honored to be here with Casey and Anna to kind of talk about what we've been doing.
So a little bit about us. Engage by Cell has been around for 15 years or so. We started as Guide by Cell. You may know us as Guide by Cell, Give by Cell, or Train by Cell, but Engage by Cell is sort of the umbrella of that. So we started providing audio guides for cultural institutions about 15 years ago, and we've kind of grown to serve organizations across several industries with any type of mobile communications. So we've got text messaging, mobile web apps, wayfinding, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit more as we move along here. These are a few client examples. So obviously we serve schools, we serve government organizations, youth organizations, workforce development, healthcare companies. It kind of runs the gamut. I will pass it to Kylie to talk a little bit about Punahou.
All right, great. So we were founded in 1841, celebrating 181 years of education here in the middle of the Pacific. We have two gifts that allowed us to exist: the gift of land from our Hawaiian ali'i, or our royals, and the gift of education from congregational missionaries who came over from the Northeast. We are the largest independent school in America on a single campus. We currently have about 37 plus 100 students, from our littles in at age 5 all the way to our most recent 18-year-olds. You may see some of them come in and out today. We're located on the island of Oahu in Honolulu, which is the capital of Hawaii. We are not near the volcano, so no worries there. But because our islands are so very close, we are receiving lots of rain and clouds and fog, which is volcanic fog. So we're very much connected. Our alumni base is about 30,000 plus Punahou graduates from our first class in 1875. And Engage by Cell has really allowed us to reach out as well as bring people in to the school, our current events, and more importantly for me as the archivist, our historical events.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you. So the Punahou School uses two different services of ours, and we're going to kind of dive through both of those. It's kind of the basis of most of our services as an organization is mobile web apps and text messaging. So text messaging is the ability for any type of communication out using the devices that everybody has with them. So we've all been on here with some level of text messaging, but in terms of having it for an organization is a little bit different. So the use cases can be sending out links, it can be welcome messages, reminders, surveys, emergency alerts, weather updates, HR benefits, enrollment reminders, really anything that you can think of. You have unlimited lists that you can use. You purchase bundles of messages, so you can have a small volume or a super high volume. We have kind of all different use cases. And then along with that are tons of different features that make the platform unique and can kind of cater it to your specific use case. So we can always do demos about different features and how you guys can use those. And then we'll touch on data a little bit later and how Kylie uses that to track information, but everything within our system has some data that you guys can report to if you need to take it to the bosses or show effectiveness and ROI of the platform. That's kind of the text messaging service. And then our second is a smartphone tour or a mobile web app. And that's really the ability to design an app without having any coding skills, which we'll kind of talk about today and how that's worked well for Kylie. But it doesn't require any sort of download by your users. As we've experienced in the past, downloading apps is a barrier for people to access information. So our version of it is quickly accessible by QR codes or sending in a text message or clicking a link. And then the design and build of it is done by you guys following a training with us. But it's very user-friendly and accessible for your organization. Now we're gonna hop into kind of the first use case of Kylie, and she's gonna take it from here, but it's really based on the students at your organization. Is that right?
Yes, so we are, different, I guess, from some of the other Engaged by Cell clients in which we are a K-12 educational institution. So everything that we do is about our student-centered learning outcomes. It's about how do we find ways to connect students to content, as well as whatever skills or language or, any kind of sequencing of pedagogy. What are the different ways that we can reach each and every one of our students, as well as our alumni, who seem to be, one of the themes that we have here at Punahou is it's actually K through life. And they are continuously learning parallel and intersect with a lot of what we're doing here at Punahou School. And so with Engaged by Cell, they're also continuously learning through technology, through the content of historical information. But everything that we do, we want to make sure we focus on our K-12 learning outcomes.
I like that. I like that a lot. And had you done anything similar to this before you reached out to Engage by Cell?
No, actually, everything was done by just me as one person within our archives department. So we're really short-staffed, and this allowed us to help expand our staff. We actually call Engaged by Cell an additional FTE who needs professional development, who needs to make sure we're taking care of Engaged by Cell, and that we keep everything up to date, but is a very active participant within our archives department staff.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is the platform does need some nurturing and needs people kind of updating content and building content, but as it is, it's not difficult of an undertaking to take on, would you say?
No, not at all. And the idea of Engaged by Cell as a solution for us actually started not within our department, which is the archives. It actually started with our outdoor education department. And that department is our outdoor classroom. And we actually started really engaging with Engaged by Cell in the pandemic. And it allowed us to build content about our school. We have 76.2 acre campus here in Honolulu. And how do we continue to connect our students from kindergarten through 12th grade with the campus, even though we're not on campus? And so with our outdoor education department, they agreed to pilot a little animal ally application within Engaged by Cell. And it was a scavenger hunt, and it was for students to get to know the animals and how they were on campus. With all of the humans leaving campus, we had a huge influx and births in different birds on campus. Our students were wondering about their chickens and the ducks that we have, because we have a pond on campus. So it was a really great way for us in the middle of the pandemic to have a tool that can be pushed out to our teachers and to our students for that purpose.
Like that. So being geared two students is one thing, but your guys' use case is actually created by the students as well. Could you touch a little bit on that?
Absolutely. So we have coordinated with different courses. I also teach a course and I also employ student workers. They do all of the research. They draft the text and the content. They edit, as well as we have other groups of students edit. So there's a peer editing part to it. They get to choose the images within our digital archives. They go out on campus and choose the contemporary images, create the captions. So the adults, the faculty, the staff, we really just come in and help to guide maybe continuity of voice, or if we're trying to make sure we're hitting certain skills within English or language. We want to keep that voice of the student and also the research that they did, but put it into a real life, immediately available platform that other students and other faculty and staff and alumni can use. So it's been a really great way for students to get immediate feedback, and not only just from students within their classes, from people all over the world.
That's great. What kind of feedback have you gotten from the students that are involved in the building process of it?
It's difficult to write for a common audience. So they had to learn to write for example, a fifth grader, a 5-year-old or kindergarten and first grader who had a certain reading level, as well as a full adult. So we had a great conversation about length of sentence structure, about how to scaffold, and if the essay was too long about a certain site and it needed to be edited, then how do we make sure we put the most information up first? Especially with the way that people are with technology, if there's not something that catches you within the first millisecond, they're gonna swipe, they're gonna move on to something else. So that was really interesting for them to learn about writing, and then also being able to choose images, contemporary and historical, and to then build within it. So they became, managers of the content, even on the back end of Engage by Cell. We were able to give them accounts, and we were able to help them as well as guide them and then monitor.
That's great. And being a cloud-based platform, they're probably able to access it anywhere that they have internet access. So makes it nice and easy for them in order to get the content. How do they access it, or the students, how do they access it on campus? Like the information once it's created?
So students, it all depends. So we did a group of fourth graders. So these are 10-year-olds. They are assigned an iPad, and the teacher had the QR code that gave them access to the part of our Engage by App historical campus tour that we wanted them to focus on. So they came with their iPad, they scanned the QR code, and then they were in small groups, and the teachers actually designed different activities around the app. When we moved to high school, 9th through 12th graders, they had their own personal mobile devices. And we had a QR code that they scanned, and then they had different choices and they were more independent. So we could actually send them off into the campus and then gather them back in. What was very interesting, it's completely an iterative project. It's something that's continually growing, continually changing. Students can go in and edit on the fly. We did a historical campus tour, and we did it in 3 different ways. The first way that we did it with the same group of students, but it was with different sites, is we went in to the app and the students read all the information that was there, and then they had a chance to ask me questions about it. The second way that they did it was I actually read directly from the app all the content that was put in there. And then the third way was we broke students up into different groups, and they read it, and then they created little Jeopardy quiz questions about what they learned. And they started, it was a little more competitive. I thought that the third way was going to be the way that the students wanted to hear about the history of their school. It actually wasn't. It was the second way. They really liked being read to. They love the storytelling. And so that caused us to figure out, okay, maybe we need an audio portion to what we're going to do. And so we're looking forward to working with Engage by Cell on that.
That's great. Yeah. So Kylie's been generous enough to let us all access their site to see some of the content that they've created. And keep in mind, they're building as we speak on the platform. So some stuff might be under construction, you could say, and that's kind of the way that they like it. So if you would like to see a copy of or access, you just open up the camera on your phone and point it at the QR code and scan the QR code, and it should pop up with access to the site, and you can feel free to poke around and see what their team has built.
And let us know in the chat window when you get access to that site, so we can follow along here.
Keep it up there for a couple minutes. Yeah, it's a great use case, and like we said, it's unique to you guys, but attainable by many other organizations. So that's why we wanted to highlight some of the ways that you guys have done it in terms of the student aspect of it. Once you guys all have access to the site, the next kind of focus is going to be on an upcoming event that they have coming in June. That's pretty exciting that they do. And Kylie and Anna will talk about that.
Yeah. And as you guys look around the site, I know you mentioned earlier, Kylie, you utilized it for a scavenger hunt. This is kind of focusing on a historical campus tour. Are there any future plans you have for more content on for student lessons in particular?
We do. We just relaunched, or we're looking at the next iteration of our sustainability goals on campus. And so what we're doing is we're throwing together a little mini scavenger hunt tour of all the different buildings on campus and all the different places in which we are practicing, water saving measures or energy saving measures. We're looking at food, waste, water. We're looking at transportation. That's a huge issue here on the island of Oahu. So the scavenger hunt, or the campus tour for our sustainability goals, is going to allow our students to be with their teachers and to get the information, to get the data, as well as the story behind it, and talk about what can they do either as a class or as a club or as a department, and how do we get to the next iteration of our sustainability goals. So that's in the works.
Awesome. Yeah, I've heard a lot of talk of scavenger hunts lately in this gamified learning. It's very immersive and engaging, especially for students. So that's awesome. And as Casey mentioned earlier, we're going to kind of get into a second use case, if you will, that Kylie recently came to us for. You have an alumni event coming up. Could you speak to a little bit of the ideas that you have utilizing the services that you currently have?
Absolutely. We're very excited. Every year we welcome back about 2,000 of our alumni, and they all are returning after 5 years. So for example, in summer of 2023, we will be inviting back all those who graduated in the class years ending in 3 or 8. And most recently, we have alumni coming back from the class of 1948 all the way to our newest graduates would be the class of 2023. And we have a week in which we offer many different activities, to be able to come home to Hawaii and to spend a week with your classmates is such a very large undertaking. We want to make sure that we have activities as well as access to information. And one of the most popular activities that we run is anything to do with a historical campus tour, anything to do with being back in the classrooms that they sat in, and just the reminiscence part of it and the memory and the storytelling. So that's coming up in June. Now, one of the challenges that we found is, while we have many different people and staff in different departments at Punahou that give campus tours, a lot of the historical campus tours are run by me in the archives. And so we're going to be launching come June 8th and then June 10th, the Engage by Cell app so that all of the alumni who come on campus have the ability to do a self-guided campus tour. And one of the highlights that we use is the ability to turn on and off the app. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that, one, as much of the information continues to be updated and accurate, but two, the app was not designed for a random person to find the website or the link and then walk on campus and start giving themselves a guided tour. It's really designed to be part of a curated experience, either as a student or an alum, that has a pre part to it and a post part to it. You know, so the pre would be, we're inviting you to come and join us in June. Out of all the activities, you might want to try this self-guided historical app. Please sign up. Then they'll show up, they'll go ahead and participate, and then we'll use the text messaging to then push out a survey. And we want to get some feedback. What did they enjoy? What is something that we missed? What is something that wasn't accurate? And they can help us correct it. So we're really looking forward to Engage by Cell to be part of a 3-part curated experience.
I like that you mentioned that, because oftentimes, particularly with guided experiences, it may be a public place where, you know, these organizations want people to have access to this and they want the QR codes everywhere. And this is a particular use case where that could potentially be dangerous. So it's just as easy as turning the content on and off and only providing it to the teachers to utilize, or maybe to event staff to utilize. So for this upcoming event, you plan on not only using tours, but text messaging as well. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so we're going to have on Thursday evening, as part of a whole series of events, we're going to set up a little tent in the middle of the high school area of our campus, and our student workers are going to be available. And previous to that, we would have had alumni pre-register and sign up for this historical campus self-guided tour experience. They'll come, we'll be able to greet them, to connect with them, you know, maybe answer any other questions that they might have about the week. They'll scan the QR code and then they get sent off, and then they can choose and select what they want to see. They can engage, they can post on social media, on their class alumni reunion pages. So it's very much what is the interest of that particular person. And then throughout that event, what we will be doing is using the text messaging is to remind them, hey, don't forget to come back because we're going to have an awards ceremony. Or, you know, the historical campus tour will be available for probably another 20 minutes. You need to make sure you come back to the cocktail reception. Afterwards, it'll be help us complete this survey, you know, help our students who are doing research on analytics fill out the survey so that they can go ahead and help us improve what we're trying to do. So it's a very exciting, we're a little nervous about it because it's such a big group of people who are going to be on the app at the same time. But everybody at Engage by Cell has reassured, and we've done some preliminary technology tests that we're going to be just fine.
Awesome, yeah. So you did a bit of a pilot, would you say, with the alumni for this, or how did that go?
It went really well. We have smaller alumni groups. They're usually committee chairs of reunioning groups, or I also have a small group of very dedicated volunteers that are here with me in the archives, and they help to test it out. And we made sure that, you know, we covered all age ranges. And one thing that Engage by Cell helped us better understand is some of our wiser, more seasoned alum are very tech savvy. And this was so easy for them to click, to, you know, back button, and it helped us design it so that the access was truly multi-generational. And they actually have more patience and they wanted more content to read than our current students. Our current students said, you know, really 5 sentences is really all we want. And our, you know, our older alum said, oh no, we want the museum version. We want the extra paragraphs. So it's been really interesting to try and balance how we meet both needs.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, let's do a quick overview of some of the goals and outcomes. So when you first came to us, you mentioned one of the reasons that you were looking for this tour is to kind of supplement or also cut down on these in-person led tours on site while keeping them meaningful.
Yes. And so with a small staff, we're able to replicate much of what research we did, the historical content, and some of the more commonly told stories within the app, and then allowed individuals or groups of students to experience that. We still get in-person tour requests, but we've been able to service more people in a
Yeah.
meaningful way and in a safe way. Because actually doing historical campus tours is a small part of my job. And at one point,
Yeah.
it was just all consuming. So we needed to find some kind of technology solution that could help alleviate some of that.
Yeah, there's only one Kylie, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to learn more about the campus. So we hear a lot of clients coming to us looking to kind of cut down on docent-led hours, or maybe their staff can't be everywhere all at once, and you don't want to miss an educational opportunity for those people. And it's particularly interesting that you're also utilizing it on the back end to teach these students. I think that's awesome. When you were talking about the sentence structure, I'm in marketing, I'm familiar with that stuff, and I don't recall learning it at that young of an age. So that's awesome that you.
Well, it's so important because they speak in emoticons and they speak in no capitalization and they speak in code. So it's been really interesting. I'm, English minor, to see how we have to reteach some of the things that, I learned as a basis. But in terms of socialization for them as the creators, it's a completely foreign language for them to be writing it this way.
Yeah. So previous to utilizing iPads for these types of lessons and tours, were you using printables? How was that being done?
It was either just auditory and just telling stories, or an 11 by 17 sheet of paper that had a picture and maybe 3 sentences and 9 different places on campus. And then in the middle, we would have a campus map with the little dash, kind of like the Family Circus cartoon, where people could start at different places and then follow. So that's what we would use in the past, and it's still available. There are still some teachers who still want to do that, so we didn't want to take it away. But this gives way more options, way more content, the ability to do pop quizzes right after a student would read something, lots of fun, and it provides a different voice, fun, competitive, maybe a historical voice or an angle to sharing information.
How many people would you say opt for the digital version over the printable version?
Oh, 90%.
Yeah.
As we've been rolling it out and more people are being invited to help us pilot, absolutely. We're really, really blessed that every student on campus has a one-to-one experience with a form of technology, whether it be a laptop or an iPad. Some students don't get to take the iPads home, our younger ones, but from about 4th grade, they're allowed to. And so they're experiencing technology in such a different way. So they're very comfortable.
Definitely. And you touched a little bit before on how you're kind of utilizing what students and alum and visitors are engaging with to inform what you build more of. What have you kind of found through the data of what you've put out there so far, and how has that informed lessons for the future?
Yes, so this was actually one, reports and having data is one of our work plan goals this year, which is to make sure that we have solid data. And it's not just particularly for archives, but really all across our K-12 institution. What data, quantitative or qualitative, do you have that demonstrates that what you think you need or what you want to do is actually working? And then, very much specifically to what we do in archives and also as a librarian, we want the user experience to be authentic, and we want to meet the needs that our audience has. So the data has been able to help guide us into topics that we never thought people were interested in, or to provide more depth into a specific topic. So one example that we're going to do and we're going to launch in 2024 is I have a team of volunteers who are going to be creating a historical campus tour specifically for the groovy 70s. And it would be everything and anything about Punahou School during the 70s, from what was going on curricularly, what was going on with the dress code, what was the attire, what were the behaviors. And the goal is to actually, one of the ideas that was given to us was, why don't you guys do things by 70s, because you really only need to create it once and then you update it every now and then, but it means that any generation can use it. Someone who was in school in the 70s, as well as someone who may want to understand an experience that their parent or grandparent had when they were here in school in the 70s. So we're really looking forward to that, but that specific example is because we had the data to back up on it, and we were able to ask people, what are you interested in?
Awesome. That's great. Well, Kylie did such a great job kind of outlining their use case, but our platform really is customizable to any use case that you may have or may be thinking of. It's not a huge undertaking to try it. Other kind of use cases, so we touched on scavenger hunts. We have a GPS mapping feature where you can plot points around your campus or your organization and see, follow along in real time and see where you are in relation to those points, and tap on the map and get some of that cool information that you've created. We have our standard audio guides that actually was the first service that our business was founded on. It's the classic dial in a phone number, listen, press an item number, listen to an audio prompt. You may have seen us at some of the museums around your area. And that's kind of the guide side of our organization, but then we've also done it for human resources, training organizations, recruiting, workforce. We have fundraising for nonprofits to do with events or long-term campaigns, Giving Tuesday. So our breadth of services is actually quite wide, and we focused on Kylie's today. But if you have interest in other types of use cases that may be more relevant to you, reach out to our team. We'll put our contact information in there. When you signed up in the last couple of weeks after getting the invite, you might have been reached out to from another member of our team. You can go back to them and chat as well, but we're here to chat with you guys outside of these planned webinars as well.
Yeah, just like Casey said, you can reach out to us directly. Casey's information, my information, and Kylie's information will be up in just a second, but we wanted to take a minute and answer any questions you guys may have. So if you want to put them in the chat and send them to everyone, we'll give you guys a couple minutes to do that. And then you can, of course, reach out to us if you guys are interested in a platform demonstration, pricing, all that good stuff.
If it's okay, if there are any Punahou alumni who are on this webinar, I would love to know that too. We have so many of our graduates who are out there, and it's always great to know where they may have landed. You just never know when we might have, or a parent of an alum or a colleague. It's just always interesting to know if people have a connection to Punahou in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let us know in the chat, you guys, if you have any connection there.
And then we just ultimately want to thank Kylie for joining us today and sharing her use case. And we thought it was interesting and hope everybody else did as well. And just appreciate the trial and error of our platform and learning something new. And we learned from you today, and hope everybody else did as well.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Info up if you want to reach out to any of us directly. And thank you so much, Kylie.
Thank you so much, Anna and Casey, and everybody.
Yeah.
Stay healthy. Mahalo.
Absolutely. I think don't see too many questions coming in, so we'll end the recording now. And if questions do come up, there should be different levels for you guys to reach out. So do not hesitate. And we appreciate everybody taking the time today.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everybody.